Chair Nose, Vice Chairs Goodwin and Nelson, and members of the committee. My name is Alisa Weaver, and I'm a licensed clinical social worker in the state of Oregon with 10 years' experience conducting psychotherapy. I would take no issue with this bill if it did not include language around gender identity. The portion I take issue with is, quote, providing professional services for the purpose of attempting to change a person's gender identity, including attempting to change behaviors or expressions of self. Helping clients change behaviors and expressions of self is the crux of effective psychotherapy, and I would argue that gender identity has no place in the definition of conversion therapy, at least for minors. I first learned about puberty blockers and medical gender transition of minors while working as a therapist in Las Vegas, Nevada. The dilemma that was immediately obvious to me was how to distinguish between those who will persist in a trans identity beyond adolescence and those who might be exploring a trans identity due to any number of complicating factors, including physical, emotional, or sexual abuse, poor self-image fueled or exacerbated by social media, sex-based bullying, digital or online exploitation, rejection of non-heteronormative expressions by family or peers, autism spectrum traits, eating disorders, etc. This dilemma does not seem so obvious to other mental and medical health professionals, unfortunately. I have heard many colleagues bemoan the harm of gatekeeping in reference to parameters that used to guide adult sex reassignment and treatment of gender dysphoria in youth. When it comes to minors, these safeguards make absolute sense to anyone who understands development. Adolescence is the search for a sense of self and personal identity through an intense exploration of personal values, beliefs, and goals. Complicating this process for Oregon youth, smartphones have become ubiquitous, and the negative impact on mental health that the social media era has ushered in for our youth has been well documented. Add to this 2 years of school lockdowns, unprecedented social unrest and isolation, natural disasters, and beyond unhealthy amounts of time spent online. Our kids have been through the ringer and continue to be bombarded with more information and messaging than any generation before them. They deserve the space and support to try and make sense of it all with compassionate and age-appropriate boundaries in place. The statute also requires that therapists employ gender identity neutral interventions, which I would argue should not include affirmation-only therapy, social transition, or any medical interventions for minors, as these honor only one aspect of that youth's identity at a particular moment in time and neglects the full process of self-discovery that individual is entitled to, in addition to creating a myriad of social and familial complications. The medical complications are not my area of expertise, but Finland, Sweden, and the UK all now agree that the benefits of puberty blockers and cross-sex hormones do not outweigh the harms and strongly discourage against giving these powerful drugs to youth. There is a growing army of detransitioned youth who have been harmed by gender medicine, many of whom continue to experience medical complications including chronic pain, infertility, and in some cases total loss of sexual function or enjoyment, to say nothing about the toll that betrayal by their helping professionals has had on their mental health. Evidence also suggests that girls suffer greater psychological harm from increased internet exposure. They make up the majority of delayed or rapid onset gender dysphoria cases, and they are more likely to suffer long-term harm and complications from hormone replacement therapy and surgical interventions. Clients and therapists deserve to have protections in place that allow both to commit fully to the process of psychotherapy, which is an ongoing conversation aimed at improving self-understanding and self-efficacy. While I deeply appreciate the goal of protecting vulnerable people from harm, as a social worker, this bill clearly falls short and has not protected detransitioned youth from harm at the hands of well-meaning professionals. Please do not pass this bill and draft another with more specific language that would outlaw harmful conversion therapy practices and allow all persons the freedom of patient self-discovery. Thank you for your attention.